The automobile is one of the most important inventions that revolutionized the modern world. In America, the rich history of car culture runs deep as technology continues to shape the future of the industry. Jason Stein,
former publisher of Automotive News,
is here to share the stories of people passionate about cars, from industry leaders and innovators to car-obsessed celebrities. Buckle up as Jason takes you inside the boardroom, onto the track, and around the bend on Cars and Culture on SiriusXM Business Radio.
Hi, I'm Jason Stein, host of Cars and Culture. Before we get to this week's interview, I want to say that this episode is brought to you by Connected by Reynolds & Reynolds. I love the conversations I get to have on this show because they're exactly that. They're conversations. Another podcast I found worth checking out for conversations is Connected by Reynolds & Reynolds. Greg Ulan goes deep with guests on everything from used car acquisitions to finding your niche and selling to it. I definitely recommend adding Connected to your rotation.
Welcome to Cars and Culture on SiriusXM in episode 123. I'm your host, Jason Stein. The young girl could always run faster than the rest. That part was obvious from the moment she took to the track and flew by her competitors, tearing up the competition at every turn and every stride on those long legs. She could fly, but no one really knew just how much she could truly soar. Gabby Thomas isn't just a two-time Olympic medalist and America's track hope on Team Toyota for the Paris Games next summer. She's also the hope for advanced research on sleep and perhaps a few more academic projects that might send the athletic Thomas into the record books for solving the human condition and making the world a better place. Thomas is more than a student athlete. She's a gold medal person as well. Educated at Harvard, one of her projects of late has been the study of neurobiology and sleep on humans. How much they need, how important it is to the mental and physical well-being, and that it's even more critical to her than any other form of training. And that's just one part of the Gabby Thomas story. She's incredibly gifted, and not just on the track. Gabby Thomas is the rare combination of inquisitive individual, caretaker of the world, and oh yeah, she blisters the track in the 100 and 200 relay. And she's going to tear up the track next summer, to be sure, in Paris. Already this year, she's proven to be a formidable player in the World Championships, and all to get prepared for what's to come, which is a contending place at the Olympics. Gabby wants gold, lots of them. And judging by her experience in Tokyo nearly 4 years ago, she has an incredible shot to do exactly that. She won the bronze medal in the 200 meter and a silver as part of the women's 4x100 relay at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. This past August, she claimed the 200-meter silver medal in the 2023 World Athletics Championships in Budapest with a time of 21.81. She would also go on to win gold as part of Team USA in the women's 4x100 relay with a championship record of 41.03 seconds. As one major part of Team Toyota, she's also glued into the Toyota story of teamwork and spirit and continuous improvement. And she knows a thing or two about studying culture. Our first Olympic athlete gives us a one-on-one on what it's like to be mentally tough in the blocks for a high-profile event, and remind us that 8 hours might not be enough at the end of your day. Gabby Thomas sprints her way to the Cars and Culture microphone today on the program.
Hi, this is Gabby Thomas, and this is Cars and Culture with Jason Stein.
We've had a lot of different guests on this program over the last 2.5 years. There's a solid guarantee that no one on this program runs as fast as Gabby Thomas. Certainly not me, Gabby. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You are. I am not going to challenge you to anything like that. But I could get in a car and maybe you could run next to the car. That would be appropriate, right? And maybe we'd be close.
Maybe.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. I'm enjoying my off season now. I get 6 weeks off of absolutely no working out, no exercise. So I'm definitely enjoying that.
What does an Olympic sprinter do when you're in the off season? You just eat really great food and sit on the couch?
Yes, I get to eat all of the food I want guilt-free. I mean, I eat it all season, but now I can do it without the guilt of it. So my favorite off-season food is pizza. I typically will take my vacations because when we're in season, you can't really travel for leisure. It takes up too much of your training and recovery time. So this is the time where we get to have fun, visit our friends that we don't see all year, eat, and honestly just relax.
Is that hard to step away from that kind of routine when you spend, let's see, you said you're off for 6 weeks-ish. So you spend 46 weeks not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question. Yeah, I don't get that question a lot, but truthfully, it is weird. It's really weird to step away from that very structured routine because I know that I want to get back to it. That's like my default. It's where I'm most comfortable. But I also know that I need to step away from it just for my overall well-being, physically and mentally. So yeah, it's a little bit strange, but we get such a short period of the year to do it. So just telling myself constantly that, okay, I need to do this for myself. I need to step away from the routine. I need to, I'm still sleeping a lot, so that doesn't change. But yeah, just it's strange.
Well, it's a lifestyle, right? So your lifestyle is, I mean, at the height of your training, just so the audience understands, how much time are you spending in a given day training?
Yeah, so I mean, the typical structure is when we're in our preseason, which is when we don't have any meets for professional track athletes, that's typically, November through February. You are training pretty much 3, 4 hours a day. For me, it's Monday through Friday. For most athletes, it's Monday through Saturday. That's your day. So you wake up, you go to training, you eat, you rest, and then you do it again. And then when we get into the season, we have that same kind of structure, but it's broken up by track meets. So a lot of that time is spent traveling and competing. So your whole life kind of revolves around track and field in your sport at that point. And I mean, it's fun, but that's just what it is. And so now when I have, nothing, I really don't have anything to do all day because we're not training, we're not competing. It's a little different.
Yeah, that downshifting, if you will, right? I mean, you downshift out of your lifestyle into something that's fairly sedentary. How do you gear yourself back up to then go back to it after 6 weeks?
Well, for me, I think once we have all of this downtime, it's really exciting. I mean, what gets me through to that point is like you are so motivated. I mean, I'm thinking about world championships, and for this upcoming year, we're thinking about the Paris Olympics. And so
Right.
you get to a point, for me at least, I'm itching to get back into training. I'm itching to get back into that lifestyle because that's my comfortable place. Waking up and having this purpose and waking up and doing something really challenging every day. And you just feel so good being in that routine.
Yeah, you're inspiring me to go to the gym now. Okay, this works. This will work. I'll just keep replaying what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
How's your year been? I know you just came off of Budapest in August.
Yeah.
You came off a blistering run earlier this year, best time in the world at one point with a 21.60 in the 200. You've had a good year, right?
Yeah, I think this was a really good year for me. I think each year I kind of just keep improving a little bit and a little better. And in track and field, that's really great because, we're really competing for the difference of a fraction of a second. And so once you get to the elite level, everyone's kind of running the same times, running the same things. And it gets to a point of, how can you just make these really small marginal gains? And if you can each year just make a little bit more of a gain and get a little bit better, that's a really impressive thing to do. And it's really important that you can do that. And so for me, it was a great year. I mean, I did run a PB at our national trials where I had the world lead 21.6. That was a personal best for me. And to continue to get better is really exciting. It was a great year just because it's right before this next Olympic cycle, right? So you're kind of getting on the world stage and you're cementing your name and all the headlines and making sure that you're making a statement and just preparing yourself mentally and emotionally to compete on that stage. This was my first year actually competing at a world stage with people because when I was at the Olympics, in the Tokyo Olympics, nobody was allowed to be there because of the pandemic.
Right.
So it was a very special year for me. It was very different. And I feel like I gained a lot of experience. And to come out with a silver medal, I was pretty happy with, but definitely looking for gold next year. So I've done, Olympics bronze, world championship silver, and now I'm hoping to improve even more and get a gold next year. So I did feel really good about the season. I've learned a lot about myself as an athlete, competed against some very impressive women sprinters. It's a really special time for women sprinting just across the board. All the women are competing so well, breaking records, doing amazing things on the track, competing through motherhood, competing, even later than many people once thought that women athletes could compete. So it's been a really special time to be a female athlete.
Let's go back to the Olympics. I mean, obviously different, as you say, at many levels. The accomplishment of being there, the oddity of the situation globally. What did it all mean to you? I mean, now you've had the chance to digest a little bit and think about it and reflect, and the fact that you were there. I mean, it's the Olympics.
I know. What's funny is when I was training for the Olympics, I had just graduated from college and I moved down to Austin, Texas to train and give myself a shot to make this Olympic team. And I had no idea that I would actually make the team. So the plan was to go try and go to Olympic trials and see what happens. And then if that didn't work out, I would, go continue with my master's. I just finished my master's degree in public health at the University of Texas. And the plan was just to do that and go into healthcare administration. And so for me to have that kind of year to, one, not make the team, make the Tokyo Olympic team, win the Olympic trials, and then go and medal at Tokyo was huge for me. I felt very new to the sport. That the pandemic was happening, so everything was so strange and unusual. But it was just an amazing experience for me to see, what I could do when I'm pushed on that level. When you're put in that situation, when you're put in that environment, how do you compete? How do you compose yourself as an athlete? And that for me was a turning point in my career, because I realized, this is something that I can do. I love it. Like, I loved competing at that stage. I loved the pressure. I loved the thrill of it. And I loved how it pushed me to be a better athlete. So looking back, I mean, that was just a huge turning point for me. It showed me what I was actually capable of. And it showed me that I'm capable of going for an Olympic gold medal.
Is that what you learned about yourself? Was that the number one thing? Is that you could really be, you could mentally put yourself into a place where you could compete and maybe learned what kind of competitor you are?
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I learned that, I can compete. I learned that I can essentially do anything that I wanted to do if I put my mind to it. I was at the time focused on academics and other things. And then I realized that if I am put in this environment and I really, really push myself and put the effort in every day, that this is something that I could do, and I could do it at the highest level. And I genuinely think that anyone can do that too. I mean, if you are putting yourself in a situation and setting yourself up to, be the best at whatever you're doing, you really can do it. And that was a huge turning point for me. And I'm still living that every day. I'm still striving to be the best in my track and field discipline.
You grew up in Massachusetts. You played in a number of different sports growing up, softball, soccer.
Yeah.
Did you always know you were fast?
I did always know that I was fast, but being fast is one of those things that everyone kind of thinks they're fast. Like you're when you're running, you feel fast, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm so fast, I can do this and that. But yeah, so in soccer, I was always a fast girl. Just soccer was my first love. Kick the ball really far out in front of me, chase it, score a goal. That was my move.
Outrun the competition.
Yes, outrun the competition. Exactly. And I'm still doing it.
Yes, you are.
15 years later. Yeah. But that was the thing. And I wasn't the fastest in the country by any means when I was being recruited for college or anything. But once I put myself in an environment where I had to be better and I had to make myself faster, I did. And then that translated again at the professional level as well. I wasn't the fastest by any means when I signed my professional contract, but I ended up getting there just by putting myself in the situation and challenging myself against girls who were faster than me. But yeah, I mean, what's funny about track and field is you typically get a bunch of athletes who did, a number of sports growing up and then realized they were fast or athletic and then continued with track and field. If you ask any of us, we all did, gymnastics, soccer, basketball, whatever have it. We just did all the sports.
Well, you were inspired, interestingly, most people may not know if the story is true. You were inspired by watching Allison Felix, right?
That's right.
Running on your grandmother's TV screen?
Yes. Yes, right? That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. I remember I was in Alabama. I had to be maybe 9 years old, something around that, maybe 11. They all blend together for me, but I was just young. And I remember I was at my grandma's house in Alabama, and my mom called me and told me to turn on the TV because there was a girl with really long, skinny legs like me on the TV. And that's what I loved about it, because I was always so tall and lanky. And I was like, oh my goodness, she does look like me. She has some long, skinny legs. And I remember watching her and her stride, and just watching really not only her winning, but how she composed herself and how she represented herself as an athlete was really inspiring to me. She had this really quiet confidence to her that I really admired, and I saw myself in that. And just following her career since then has been incredible. Just her pushing herself and defying the odds. And she might not win every single race, but she's always going to be there, and she's always going to come back, and she's going to fight and win some races. And it's just been a really inspiring career to watch.
But let's go back to your own personal history. We go from Alabama and your grandmother's house, and then 4 years of high school where you set multiple records in on the track. But then you go to Harvard, amazingly, right? And study, by the way, neurobiology. You're not only, Gabby, you're not only the fastest person on this program, you're clearly the smartest out of 120. So let's talk some neurobiology.
Oh, God.
Why neurobiology, and what in the world were you going to do with that?
Oh, gosh. I mean, when I was in high school, when I was younger, I knew that I wanted to study neurobiology. I just didn't know what college I wanted to study it at. And I was just really intrigued by just what you could do when you studied the brain. I recalled seeing my twin brother going through some neuro treatments for his ADHD and seeing how effective that was. And I was like, this is actually a really cool field to study. You can change lives with this. And I knew I wanted to go into research. And I looked at a few programs, and Harvard was obviously one of the top programs in that field. And so when I had the opportunity to run there, I thought this is incredible. I looked at a few other schools as well, but Harvard was a program where, one, I can get what I wanted academically. I could do other things as well, other extracurriculars, but also the track team had this really great culture of basically just this mindset of improvement. It doesn't matter where you're starting, but they were fighting to just be a really top tier program. And I really respected that. And I felt like I could fit in there and just grow as a person, as a student, and as an athlete. So it was a great fit for me. And I really do feel like I found my footing there and I strived. And it's all about, just like I said before, being in that type of environment. And so my first years at Harvard, I was doing research. I ended up doing research my freshman year on a form of autism called Rett syndrome. And at the same time, I was competing at the Olympic trials for the first time. So I was kind of balancing and juggling those two sides of my life and wanting to be the best at both. And it was such a great environment for me to just thrive and be the best version of myself. It was a great fit, and everything just kind of flowed perfectly for me. I always tell people when they're making these decisions, if they're asking me for advice on where to go to school or where to run or where to do this, it's best to just go with what feels right, what feels natural. And for me, Harvard just was this natural flow, just me being in Massachusetts and having a program that I was really interested in, having girls on the track team who I felt comfortable around, who I felt like built this culture that I wanted to be a part of. And I was really happy there. And I think that's where I found a lot of my success, is just feeling like I really fit in.
And then you went on to do something that I think is incredibly powerful. You studied and wrote about the power of sleep when you went on to the University of Texas in Austin following
That's
that.
right. So that actually started at Harvard. My track coach was a huge advocate for sleep. I mean, if we didn't get the number of hours that we needed to before practice, I mean, he would kick us out. He would say, go home, you're not practicing today, because not having enough sleep is essentially the equivalent of training drunk. I mean, you don't have like the capability of having a safe practice where you're not going to get injured, and you're definitely not going to get better. So that's kind of where that started for me. And he had me write a whole report on the importance of sleep, because when I was a freshman, I was not getting enough of it. And that's when I really realized, I started doing this research. I started reading some stuff from the sleep doctor. Like, I realized how important it was. And from then on, from my freshman year, I made sure I was getting my 8 hours every night, even in college when I had a lot going on. And then when I got older and realized, I wanted to study public health, sleep became something that I just thought more and more about. And I was reading more and more about it and seeing how sleep is something that we really are not prioritizing as a society, just culturally, and how big of an impact lack of sleep can actually have on your life and your mortality. And my area that I was really passionate about when going into public health was health disparities. And the intersection of sleep and health disparities is actually pretty big. there's a huge overlap with that. And so studying that just kind of came naturally to me as well. It was something that I felt like was really important.
You characterized it as a public health crisis, actually.
I did. It is a public health crisis. I mean, it absolutely is, because like I said, it's not something that we acknowledge as one, and it's it's a great, I mean, people are not getting the amount of sleep that they need, and not even just people who people aren't aware. I think it's an awareness issue, but then you also have the lifestyle issue of some people who are living lifestyles that don't allow them to get the amount of sleep that they need. And I think that really needs to be addressed. And just reading about the effects and how certain demographics are suffering the consequences of not having sleep due to factors outside of their control. So that was really eye-opening for me, and just studying that. So yeah, it's something that I really ended up growing passionate about, and I want to continue doing work with that. I started working at a healthcare clinic in Austin that offers free healthcare and resources for people who don't have health insurance, and I think that's really important. And figuring out where we can fill those gaps and get them to get the rest and sleep that they need is going to be really important.
Well, the author, who I'm sure you know, Matthew Walker, in the book Why We Sleep, oftentimes refers to the fact that people will say, well, I mean, and you've heard this particularly in college, well, I'll sleep when I die. And he writes, well, you actually will die earlier if you don't sleep.
It's true. I don't think people realize that. Right. I don't think that you're taking years off of your life for every hour that you choose not to sleep per night. And that's a scary fact, whether it presents itself in the form of cardiovascular disease or whatever chronic disease that comes of it. So, yeah.
Well, you've said that sleep holds as much importance to you as a track workout or a gym workout or a physio session or proper nutrition.
Yeah, if not more. I mean, it's one of those core factors, right, that go into my training regimen. And exactly, it's lifting, it's nutrition, it's actual training on the track, and it's sleep. But you can do all the training in the world, and if you're not resting or sleeping properly, it doesn't matter, because the gains come from when you're sleeping. That's when you're gaining the actual benefits from the workout and not the workout itself. Right. So if you can do all of that and then, either not get better, essentially get injured. And I don't think a lot of athletes realize that either, is how important the actual sleep piece is in that equation. Nutrition is really important as well. But I'm not as strict and diehard about it. I do make sure I'm getting the nutrients that I need, and fueling myself after a workout. But the sleep piece is where you have to be very, very disciplined.
How hard is it? We talked about Budapest earlier. How hard is it to transfer time zones and then to maintain that sleep rhythm, your circadian rhythm, right? And also then train and then race and adjust and then fly back. I mean,
I always talk about this. I think that is the hardest part of my job. It's the trickiest part. Yep. It's not the hard workouts that we do when I'm on the track dying and laid out. It's not that. It's managing the sleep and the travel schedules, because a lot of our season is overseas. We hardly do actually compete in America, in our country. And so you have all of these workouts that we're doing and we're feeling fast and ready to go, but all of that can just disappear if you go overseas and you are not ready to run because you have not slept properly or your body is not adjusted to, its circadian cycle. Like, all of those gains can just be diminished, and we don't actually take that seriously enough, even as track competitors ourselves. Like, we think, okay, we'll just hop over to this country and then step on the track and expect to run, at the top, 1% level. But we don't realize what we've actually done to our bodies in that moment. So it's very, very difficult in trying to figure out what works for you and what will produce the best performances for you. I mean, for some people, they'll pop over there, and instead of trying to adjust, they'll just stay on, whatever their home country cycle is. So if I'm coming from America, just stay on that time zone and just figure it out, run really quickly and come back. Or they'll go and they'll try to get there really early, 2 weeks early, so that you have enough time to adjust.
Right.
But in that time, you're not able to go to other meets. You're not, if you're adjusting in one country for 2 weeks, now you've given up an opportunity to race somewhere else. So it's a lot to think about. I try not to stress over it too much, but it's definitely the hardest part of the job, is the jet lag and figuring out how to recover from that.
How ironic, someone who studied the brain saying, try not to think about it. Does understanding the brain and what you studied about the brain make you a faster runner?
I do believe it made me a faster runner in college. I think it set me up to appreciate a lot of the little things a lot more than I would have. And it gave me a great foundation, such as sleep and understanding how important that was when I was going into training. So, when my teammates were not well rested or they weren't prioritizing it, you can definitely see the difference. And it's like those marginal gains I was talking about before, where every little bit each day is going to add up. And it's going to be the difference between you basically being a pro and not being a pro. It's the difference between you getting a medal and not getting a medal. It's the difference between you getting gold and getting silver. Also understanding other things like stress, stress hormones, and how that'll affect your body, how that'll affect your training. So it definitely gave me an appreciation and made me a stronger athlete, gave me a better foundation. Now I try not to let it stress me out too much because there are some things that are out of my control. But then it also helps because there are things that are in my control, right? I can meditate, each day because I know that's actually going to help me. There's, hormonal differences that are happening in my nervous system that apply to training, just because I'm deciding to meditate for 5 minutes each day. So small things like that, I do think help. But you can't worry about it too much.
Yeah. Before we get back to this interview, I want to say that this episode is brought to you by Connected by Reynolds and Reynolds. If you want to hear great conversations and Greg Ulan going deep with guests on everything from used car acquisitions to finding your niche and selling to it, I recommend adding Connected to your podcast rotation. Now let's get back to my interview.
Let's talk about Team Toyota in the future. In March, it was announced that Toyota Motor North America was adding you to its USA track and field and bring you into the team, along with Ezra French, who will be on this program as well. Tell me what that means to you. Tell me what the partnership means and being part of Team Toyota.
I mean, it's been incredible so far to have the support of a company like Toyota. When I went and met with the team in Plano, Texas, when I had just signed with them, I mean, all of the athletes are incredible. We all have so much love and support and respect for one another. The Team Toyota USA Day was one of the most fun sponsor events that I've ever attended, and just meeting all of the amazing athletes and kind of what they stand for. And I think we all have this kind of core tenet of Kaizen, that Toyota likes to say, which is continued improvement. And so being around these athletes, I felt genuinely inspired just to see. I mean, we have 28 Olympians and Paralympians in America and over 200 globally. So I met all the Americans. And when I tell you, I mean, I have never felt more empowered. And just being in a room of athletes who have overcome so much, who strive to do so much. And everyone really embodies what Toyota stands for, which, what I mentioned was Kaizen, which is continued improvement. And then also this campaign of Let's Go Places, which is essentially meaning exploring life and not being afraid to live your life adventurously and live like nobody is watching. And I do feel like I try to do that every day in my life and in my career. And I felt like everyone who is around me is also doing the same thing. So it's been really, really special.
How do you feel about Team USA's chances going into Paris? Let's talk a little bit about next year.
I'm biased, but I love Team USA. Team USA is just the strongest group of athletes. I mean, when you even think about our trials to make the Olympic team, it is very competitive. It's the hardest team to make. And so once you make that team, you feel unstoppable going into the Olympics. But it's the support that we have for one another. It's how much we push one another. It's just a really, really strong team. And I'm so proud to compete for them because I know what it takes to be on the US team. And it takes a lot, and we take a lot of pride in that. And I just love how much sport really brings us together, as a US team.
Team USA is always at the Summer Olympics been so dominant, right? You have this enormous history behind you. That's like this wave pushing the group forward, right?
It's incredible. It's an incredible feeling because exactly that we're so dominant, and we all know how much it takes to be a part of it. I mean, people who don't make the U.S. team are still among the top 1% of athletes in the world. You just don't make the team that year, and that's okay. But it's just an incredible feeling to be a part of something so dominant, something so big, and something that means so much.
How has your life changed?
Say
a number of years, and now as you think about Paris.
Gosh, I mean, my life has changed dramatically, definitely for the better. Like I said, I think I've realized what I'm capable of. And I have, since I've made my first US team for the Tokyo Olympics back in 2021, I've truly grown so much just as an athlete and a person, and seeing what I can do. And I really do feel unstoppable. I mean, when I have the support of companies like Toyota and being around other athletes like that, just seeing what I can do and looking back and seeing what I have done, I just feel really unstoppable. And I feel like I can do anything because it's such an amazing feeling to be a part of something so big, to be a part of something like Team USA, and to be doing that in real time. So, I mean, I feel really, really good about Paris. I feel like I'm on an upwards trajectory right now. I feel like I have had setbacks and I've overcome them. I've had really
how's
great
your
moments.
hamstring injury? How's your
Yeah,
hamstring?
so yeah, I got injured last year for the World Championship team, and that was heartbreaking. But I came back from that. I came back that season and had a great season, and I finished it well. And then I came back this season and had an even better one. So in that moment, what feels like the end of the world really isn't, because I have the support of my teammates, I have my team, I have my sponsors, and I overcame it. And just, looking back and thinking about how I did that, it really feels like I can overcome pretty much anything. And that's the power of sport, and it's incredible.
Could you ever imagine that you would have 300,000 Instagram followers? Nearly 300,000.
No, I never imagined that. I mean, growing up and in sports, no, I never imagined that many people would care about what I'm doing. But
Right.
I mean, it's an incredible feeling, and I love that people are watching what I do and they feel inspired by it. And if I can motivate anyone or inspire anyone, then I mean, that's an incredible feeling. I've done my job.
This show is Cars and Culture. Take me inside the culture. We go back to Tokyo, or even getting together with your other fellow Olympians, American Olympians now. What the culture of a team like this is really like? Like, what is that bonding period like? How do you support each other? What do you do to kind of get through those tough moments? And obviously, the pandemic Olympics, as it were,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's funny is, in track and field, we essentially compete against each other all year long until it's time for the World Championships or the Olympics, and then we become one team. So it's a funny dynamic, but there's this really special thing. We have this core like respect for one another, that once you're on a team together, I mean, now you are teammates and you come together and you're accomplishing one goal. And it's a really special feeling because we do just have that respect for one another, and we understand what it took to get there. And we understand what it's going to take to medal, what it's going to take when you're in the arena, with thousands, millions of people watching you and waiting for you to either do well or do poorly, and they're criticizing you or they're praising you. So we all understand that together. So it kind of really creates this bonding moment. And for me, especially when I run relays too. So I have the 4x1 and the 4x4. And we actually just had an amazing 4x1 relay where we broke the championship record and got gold. And we did that for Team USA. And so, we may not be best friends, every day off the track, but when we come together and we're on the track and we're fighting for something special together, there's no feeling like it. So we definitely have that. And there's just a really, really deep respect that we all have for one another.
Do you stay in touch with other athletes throughout the year, and even if you may not see them, but you're always in touch, and not just
yes, absolutely,
folks. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all pretty much in touch. We see each other on the circuit all the time. The funny thing about our sport is you're competing against essentially the same few people over and over again. And when you go to the Olympics, it's the same exact people you just saw 2 weeks ago, but it's on a different stage.
That's true. Right.
I don't think people really think about that. I'm like, no, I actually just raced here a week ago, but we'll do it here. we'll do it here in Paris too. It's really funny, but yeah, we definitely keep in touch, and the dynamics are different, of course, when you're competing against one another, but you still have that respect for one another. You're pushing each other to get better. You're pushing each other to just elevate the sport, to elevate track and field even, and to elevate one another. That's essentially what we're doing. And it's just it's a beautiful part of sport, whether it's track and field or anything else. I mean, we just all have that in common, is that we're competing and coming together for something that's really bigger than us. And it's just creating this love of sport, bringing people together, pushing each other, bringing out the best in one another. And so I really appreciate that part of it.
For those who don't listen or know the routine of a Olympic athlete, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions about how you get ready.
Go for it.
I've read a little bit about what you do, but I want others to hear it. Pre-race ritual. It's like Coffee, meditate, and relax, right? Isn't that what I mean, that's
Pretty reasonable. Yes. Oh gosh. I mean, when we're competing in the evening, it gets tough. But yes, coffee, warm up, meditate, warm up, compete.
and that's it.
That's it. You want to keep it so everyone's a little bit different, but I try to keep it very, very simple. I try to treat race days like any other day.
Okay. We see athletes, particularly NFL athletes, they got headphones in, earbuds in, before a big game. And,
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I actually don't listen to music when I warm up, and I'm very weird in that way. Um, I don't like, and I think it might be the neuro in me where I don't want to get too worked up and have I want to feel that in the moment when I get to the line. I don't want I want all of that, all those hormones. I want all of that crashing in that moment, those 20 seconds I have to race.
Take me. So you're in the blocks. You're getting ready. Well, you're waiting for the gun.
Yes.
I've always wondered, do sprinters? Do you do your own countdown in your head?
Those are the most intense few seconds of my life every time. But no, you can't, because you never know what the starter is going to do. The starter can be so unpredictable. They can either have the gun go off really quickly or really slowly. And you have to sit there and anticipate it, but you cannot count down on your own. That's how false starts happen. That's how any type of movement happens. And then you're out, you're DQ'd. So just waiting, anticipating. And then you have to have a cue for when you hear a gun, or if you hear anything, you need a cue to go. And that's it.
So
for me, the cue is my arm goes up. That's my cue.
Okay.
My left arm just punches the air. That's my cue when I hear anything. That's also why it's really important that it's silent at the start line, because, we're on edge. We're waiting to hear just the slightest sound to go.
It's like a golfer or a tennis match, right? I mean,
yeah.
right before a serve or right before hitting a ball, you can't have an sound.
Silent.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if you could put me in the moment, what are you thinking at that moment? Are you going through a checklist? Are you?
Gosh. In that moment, no. So when I'm getting my blocks ready, when I'm getting ready to go, I am going through a checklist. I'm thinking I'm going to go out hard to 20 meters. I pinpoint a spot on the track that I'm going to push out to. I'm thinking what I'm going to do when the gun goes off. I'm thinking about my competitors, what they might do. I'm going down the list of what I'm normally thinking about. But when you actually get in the blocks and it's silent and you're waiting for the gun to go off, nothing. And I think that's where my meditation comes in handy. I want to have a very clear mind. I want to be able to focus on absolutely nothing except what I'm going to do when I hear a sound. And that's all I'm thinking about. And those first few steps for me are kind of like, I just black out. For me, it's muscle memory at that point. I'm just focused. Like it's a kind of a zone that I had never experienced until I started competing at this level and running professionally, but it's a very intense focus zone. And that's where I think meditation comes in handy.
And on the 200, you're running for 21, hopefully 0.6 or less.
Less,
seconds.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
so, I mean, this is not, relatively speaking, that's a long time.
Yes.
Are you observing everybody who's going either past you or who you've passed? Did you have that cognitive ability, or is it just no?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. You're definitely, we say in track and field all the time, focusing on your own lane. So I'm definitely focusing on my own lane, but part of it is competition. You have to compete. So I'm absolutely aware of what's going on around me. I know who's around me. I know what their skills are. I know what their deficits are. So I know if I'm, around someone who's a really great starter and she's ahead of me by 10 meters in the first part of the race, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not worried because I know I can catch them at the end. If I'm around someone who I know can finish the race really strongly, then yeah, I'm thinking I need to be ahead of her. I need to be ahead of her here. So I'm definitely, making those kind of decisions as I'm racing. I do have that awareness. But yeah, at the same time, you have to balance that with focusing on your own lane.
Yeah. Stay in your lane, as they say.
Yes, exactly. You stay in your lane, but still compete.
Do you have a favorite lane?
Oh my gosh. Probably lane 6 or 7. You want to be in the mix. You want to be able to see people outside of you and inside of you, but you don't want it to be too tight.
Yep.
And I think I've been running in lane 8 every race I've had this season, because they just changed the rules, and that's one of the new preferred lanes. And it's been so hard, but I do have the world record from lane 8, so I'll take that.
Paris can get a little hot and humid in the summertime, but you train in Austin. Does that give you an advantage?
That is right. I think that it does. I think that I can handle the heat a little bit more than some people, but most sprinters train in really hot weather. So we all do it. So I think we all do that in hopes that, we'll be prepared for it. But we did have a really big track meet in Paris this summer, and it was very hot and humid. And I competed very well. So I have good feeling about it.
Yeah, wonderful. Do you have a mentor in the racing world? And maybe a mentor in the non-racing world?
Yeah, I mean, my coach is my biggest mentor. She's been around for a while. I mean, she has her own Olympic bronze medal, and she's been in the sport for so long. And she's a big part of why I moved to Austin, Texas to train, because I knew she would be such a great mentor for me and a great coach. And I mean, she really is like a second mom to me and my best friend, and she really helps me just with the training and everything around the training, just in life. So it's been really amazing to have that and to have her with me every single day. I don't think I'd be where I am in the sport, without her. And then of course my mom, my mom has really exemplified for me what it means to go after what I want, right? And to never stop and to strive to be the best at what I do. And that's not going to stop with track and field. When I retire, I'm going to continue to do the same thing because I think it's just ingrained in me. And I love that. So I'm never going to stop doing that. And it's because I have these amazing women just in my life every single day.
I thought for sure you were going to say a brain surgeon somewhere who was.
Well, when I was in college, that's another thing. I mean, I have so many amazing mentors, but my first college professor that got me into public health, Professor Hammonds, was an amazing mentor for me. And she showed me the importance of advocating for people who need the advocacy. And that's why I went and got my degree in public health and why I work at a healthcare clinic now. And it's amazing. So yeah, just being around women who inspire me every day, it just made me who I am now.
So when you're not running one day in the future, what will you be doing?
That is a great question. I see myself continuing to work in the healthcare space, hopefully maybe running a nonprofit, similar to the clinic that I work at now, just providing healthcare and resources for people who do need it. And that's where I see myself. But at this point, I don't know. I feel like it's so far off now, and everything keeps changing year by year. If you had asked me 2 years ago if I'd still be running, I mean, the answer would have been no. I thought I would be working in healthcare now. So we'll see. But I definitely see myself giving back to the community in that way.
Have you ever been to Paris?
I have. Yes, I competed at the Paris Diamond League this year. And I went actually and competed a couple of years ago as well. So I'm very excited. I got my minor in French, so I'm ready.
Oh, wow. There we go.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Oh, that's great. What is it about Paris that you're looking forward to the most, besides obviously the races that you're going to run in? Is it the opening ceremonies? I mean, that would seem obvious.
Besides, I mean, for me, it's going to be just bringing the world together, and it's such a central place too. And after the Olympics, before just having nobody there because of pandemic, and it was such a weird, hard time for so many people, it's going to be really special to have everyone come together for something so positive, right? That's the power of sport, and I can't wait for that. It's going to be an amazing feeling. Opening ceremonies, we're all going to feel it. The world has overcome so much in the last few years. And I think this will just be an amazing moment for everyone, for the entire world to come together and watch. It'll be special.
And on the track, the goals are obvious. But I know it was asked of you. You're fairly close to FloJo's 33-year-old record, right?
I think the 200-meter women are really pushing each other towards that record. Yeah, 21:34. Like I said, it's going to be small changes that you make every day preparing for the Olympics. That's going to be how much sleep you're getting, your nutrition, how hard you're pushing yourself in practice, and just taking care of yourself. So those small things are really going to make a difference. But we are definitely pushing each other. I can see that record coming down in the next few years. And I mean, this is my year. I have the experience now. I have the times, I have the confidence. I'm really excited.
Well, and just in the final minute here that we have you, if we were to have this conversation a year from now, and you would say, well, I got golds, right? And I got a record, and I'm doing better in my master's program, right? And
That's the plan.
maybe you'll even be driving a new Toyota then as well.
That's right. That's the plan. I'll have my Forerunner. Like, life will be good. My gold medals, my Forerunner, my degrees. Yes, that's the plan. That's the plan.
Do you feel like you're living a charmed life right now?
I am. I feel very blessed. I feel like I'm just moving forward. Of course, I have setbacks, but it's how you react and how you react to those setbacks and push yourself after that. And I think I'm doing a really good job of that.
Well, we'll be watching your career incredibly closely. We'll be watching you at the Paris Olympics, and we'll be thinking all about sleep until then.
Yes, please do. I beg you guys. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very excited.
What an absolute pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you, Gabby. Best of luck at the Paris Olympics. She is a U.S. Olympian here on Cars and Culture.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks again to my guest today, American Olympic medalist Gabby Thomas. And to watch my interview with Gabby, go to the Cars and Culture YouTube channel. You can like and subscribe to see more than 120 interviews and nearly 1,000 videos. More great guests are coming. Come back in the following weeks to hear from Paralympic athlete Ezra Frick, as well as Graham Rahal, Bruno Senna, and Corvette designer Rich Shear. I'm Jason Stein for Cars and Culture. We'll see you down the road.